وصحبه وسلم والحمد لله رب العالمين آمين آمين يا رب العالمين الحمد لله الحمد لله الحمد لله. We are continuing on our um classes, inshallah. Right, so inshallah we are so much Allah. So if anyone can see who can, who has the PDF of the book. I have an e-book of the book, but then it seems that the ebook is not exactly the same as the book, is it? I don't know. Is there a difference? Because I can share my book actually. It's okay. I can share my own ebook, but I don't know whether it's exactly the same or is it different than the physical book. But I mean, yeah, mashallah, if somebody else wants to share. I'm actually really enjoying this book. I'm enjoying the topic also. It's a very okay, to me it's a very, compared to all my other classes, it's a very relaxed topic. Alhamdulillah. It's like what that's what they mean by rawaha. And in like you can spend your asr time. Okay, for me it's asr time right now here, Tarim. Right. So maybe for you all it's at night. You want to just, unwind before you go into the weekend. It's just kind of like, in Islam you have some sciences whereby they're restful, right? In the way when you learn about them. At the same time you're taking lessons, you're taking, I mean, you are improving, inshallah, in your character and so on, with these lessons, right? But compared to other subjects, other topics, in Islam, this is very restful. It's very, in a sense, easy. It's like sirah. Sirah, how it's so nice, mashallah. Actually, okay, never mind. But actually, I don't know what I should do now or do tomorrow. But the khutbah today by Sheikh Umar al-Khatib is such a good khutbah. It's so good, mashallah. The khutbah today. And the khutbah is about tarbiyah, about raising children. I heard his first few words in the khutbah, I recorded. I was like, this is going to be a very good khutbah. So I heard his first few, opening statements in the khutbah, and I was like, khalas, I'm going to record this. So I recorded it, and I'm like, I want to translate it also, inshallah. But I was thinking that it'd be useful to translate it verbally, as well as any to write it down, in a translation, and so we can actually spread it. And I think a verbal translation would be good. So I was thinking, when should I do this? Should I do it maybe tomorrow? Right, during tomorrow's what? Fiqh Tahawulat. Because it is called Fiqh Tahawulat as well. And Fiqh Tahawulat speaks a lot about the bringing of the next generation, or the bringing up of the next generation. So a lot about when it comes to parenting, when it comes to tarbiyah, in Fiqh Tahawulat, it's a lot to be said. Right? Because it's not just on parents, but it's on an entire generation. So our entire generation, we are responsible for the next generation, basically, right? So every generation is responsible to equip the next generation, right, to prepare themselves, right, for the end of times, right? So with each generation, it gets weaker and weaker, right, and we fail more and more, right, in equipping the next group of human beings, right, to prepare themselves for the end of times. Right, so maybe I'll speak about it tomorrow, or maybe today, maybe tomorrow, inshallah, tomorrow. Right, but I do intend to translate verbally. Maybe somebody can translate, written. Right, but tomorrow I think I want to translate today's khutbah. It's so good. It was so good, the khutbah. Like I was like, subhanallah, the entire first part of the khutbah, like I felt so emotional. Just hearing the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his, interactions with the young, right, is so beautiful. And the most beautiful thing about it is that none of these people are his children. None of them are his children. They are just young human beings who are living around him, right? And from, his impact on them, right? As for example, Sayyidina Anas, Sayyidina Anas, you would say he's a young student. Of course, he's a servant of Rasulullah, but you could say like a teacher-student relationship, with Rasulullah. Then you have Sayyidina Ibn Abbas, who is a cousin, a family member. a family member, a cousin of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And you find all these, people around Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, these young people, right, and their experiences and how the Prophet sallallahu impacted them, right, in their upbringing, in their nurturing, in their development, and so on. Mashallah. Right. So inshallah tomorrow I will speak about it, because he did quote a story of the Khalifa Umar bin Abdul Aziz, right? Zayn Umar bin Abdul Aziz, right? And with his children on the day of Eid. It's a very beautiful story, which just reminded me, that this is basically the answer, to give our children when they compare themselves with other children. But I think this morning for this morning's fiqh lesson, there was a question, that when my kids, compare themselves with other children, and what they have, what they don't have, how do I respond to that? How do I answer that? And just now the Sheikh, Sheikh Umar al-Khatib, like here, she quoted a very beautiful instance in the life of Khalifa Umar bin Abdul Aziz, and his children, on the day of Eid, and how there was a comparison, in what his children were wearing and what the children of the rich were wearing. And there was a comparison that, and then there was a response also, to it from his own children, how they responded. And from there, itself, there's a beautiful lesson in the we can learn. But inshallah, I think I'll leave all that to tomorrow. So there was a preview. Right? Those who want to hear all the stuff, all these things, inshallah, and follow the translation of the khutbah by Shaykh al-Khatib today. Tomorrow, inshallah, I'll do it during Fiqh Hawlat. And during Fiqh Hawlat, I'll spend the beginning part maybe, and go through it, inshallah. Tamam. So we're continuing with our book, right? On Nabi Yusuf alayhi salam, on love stories in the Quran, and on the story of Nabi Yusuf alayhi salam. Right. So we are on page 20. So another hadith, Sahih Muslim, Rasulullah sallallahu was sitting the Sahaba when the men walked by. We have done this one as well, have we not? Yes. So we are on the part of masquerading love. Are we there? Now on page 21, correct. The first sentence, tamam. So masquerading love, which is not love. This list is basically masquerading love. Right? It is lust. Right? It is sinful love. An infatuation or impassionate love that is built on the same emotions and same feelings, but causes you to sin to reach it. Right? So I actually would defer with the first line. I'll defer a bit, right? But Allahu Alam, right? All due respect to the Sheikh, right, who wrote this book, right? But basically, it's not love at all. Right? If you define love, this is not love, right? Infatuation is not love. It has nothing to do with love. Infatuation is infatuation. Passion is passion. It has nothing to do with love, right? It's confused with love, right? But love is something very pure. Okay, love is something very pure, right? And it's not built on the same emotions. I won't say the same emotions or feelings, no, right? It's just, it's just an exhilaration, right? Having a crush is an exhilaration. It's not love. When you have a crush on someone, you're not loving the person. Right? What is love? Right? Love is to want all goodness for an individual. That is how you would define love, right? To want goodness for an individual. So when I say I love you, right? I love you, I want all goodness for you, right? And also it could be, right, love is that you are gaining all goodness. So from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right, that because you are gaining all goodness from them. Love centralizes, or you say it centralizes all around goodness. All of love is goodness. All of love is goodness, in that way. Right? So to desire certain things, right? Goodness, to say goodness for people. Of course, like when you say love of the dunya, right? Whereby you think dunya benefits you. You think so dunya or love of the dunya is always placed side by side in comparison to love of Allah. Right? Whereby we say that someone who loves dunya cannot be loving Allah. The love of Allah and love of dunya cannot sit in the same heart. It cannot. It's not possible. The love of dunya and love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala cannot sit in the same heart. Right. So what how do you understand the love of dunya then? That is how you understand the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in that you perceive that you're gaining all goodness from the object of love, right? Or from the source of love. Right. So you love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you perceive correctly that you are gaining all goodness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When you love the dunya, you are perceiving falsely that you are gaining goodness from the dunya itself. There's a false perception. Tamam. Right. So I wouldn't say it's from the same emotions, same feelings, because I wouldn't be calling infatuation nor passion love. The infatuation is not love, passion is not love. It's just any obsession, it is exhilaration, it's a high, it's just Allahu alam, is this, you will say it's passion, but you will not associate this with love. This is not love. So like what they might call puppy love is not puppy love. There's no love, right? Young children in primary school, in secondary school, would any of us adults here say they know anything about love? When they say, oh, I love my boyfriend, or I love, if they do have their boyfriends, but it is our zaman, so it's something it's not less about it. It's not far-fetched at all, unfortunately, right? That our children are already pairing up. And they will say, oh, I love him, and they love their partners that they have called for themselves. May Allah protect our children. May Allah protect our children from such nonsense. Allah. But as adults, right? If you say a child were to say this to you, in primary school or in secondary school, oh, I love that guy. Oh, I love that. You say it's not love, right? You will say that, right? As adults, you say that it's not love. Okay, you don't know what is love. You're too young to know what is love. Okay, maybe the only love you've ever experienced is the love for your parents. That's probably as far as it goes. Right? Love for your grandparents, love for your parents, love for your siblings. Maybe love for your cat if you perceive that. Yeah, but it's not. I'm actually having a lot of issues with the first statement. Sorry, right, but I'm disagreeing with the first statement. Now, as an infatuation and passionate love that is built on the same emotions and same feelings, but causes you to sin to reach it. It's not love, right? It's obsession. It's obsession. That's all it is. Obsession is not love, because obsession, yani, if it's not guided, right? If it's not guided, right, it will harm a person. Obsession can harm a person. And in fact, I will say, okay, I'll just say that obsession harms a person. Right? Obsession harms a person. And I would not say that anyone with regards to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is obsessed. I will not use the word obsessed, but I will use the word love. Right? I mean, we got to use our terms correctly. Okay? So when the Sahaba would rush to grab the hair of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when they would rush to get the wudu water of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they would rush to drink from the cup that he drank from, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Right? I would not call that obsession, because obsession is a mindlessness, right? That is negative, right? So we need to define all our terms, and inshallah have a list of terms and the definitions of terms, right? So I wouldn't call that obsession, but I'll call that love. Right? It is love for Rasulullah alaihi wasallam, to the extent love for all goodness, love for all barakah, right? For all blessings that comes your way from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Right? So so in that way, I would say that Sahaba, right, that they have love, deep love for Rasulullah, because to love Rasulullah, it can go very, very, very deep and very intense. Right? It's a love that is beyond any love that you might ever experience for another human being. Love for Rasulullah, really, honestly, subhanAllah, really, there is no human being in your life, and there should not be any human being in your life that you can love, as deeply, as fiercely, as strongly as Rasulullah alaihi wasallam. Not a single human being, not your parents, not your husband, not your children, nobody that you will be able to love to the extent of love that a person or people of the past especially have experienced with Rasulullah, and then from there comes the hadith that none of you truly believe until I am more beloved to him. That means the Prophet ﷺ is more beloved to him than his self, and then his wealth and his family, and even his self that is between his two sides. Then everything in his entire existence. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. That is true love. Okay, so I'm having a bit of issues with this entire first paragraph. Okay, I'm just gonna go through it, right? And I will just, have my difference with the terminology and with the definitions of terms. So here, it feels the same as the first love. It feels the same as the first love mentioned above, right? Maybe you might feel the same, right? But it's not the same at all. I won't say if it is mistaken. Okay, it's mistaken to be the first step of pure love. Right. So people think they are in, as I said, they're young children, they're teenagers, and they think they are in love, with whatever partner they have. They think they are in love. They are nowhere near any form of love at all. They think they are. They think what they're feeling is a feeling of love. Is this love? Is this love? No, it's not. It's not love. Right? It's just an infatuation. I say 100% of the time, teenagers, or youth, what they are feeling is infatuation, nothing else. nothing more than just some infatuation, full stop. Right? So it is not love at all. And how do we know this? How do we know if what we are feeling is love or it's not? What is the feeling of love? I'm gonna ask you all this question. What is the feeling of love? Is it that if someone walks into the room, your heart begins to beat faster? Is that love? It's infatuation, right? Right. So you gotta just think. If I were to write a test, and I put like a few descriptions, and you to choose infatuation or love, infatuation or love, right? Having a crush, or are you actually in love, with a person, right? So okay, let's see the first scenario. Okay, someone comes into a room, and your heart begins to beat faster. Right, you begin to feel anxious, you begin to feel nervous, you begin to feel excited. Right, what is that? Is that love or infatuation? What is that? What is it? Yeah, answer me. Can answer in the chat. There are high chances infatuation. High chances infatuation, right? I would not classify that as love at all. Okay. Let me describe to you what happened just now when I was here in the khutbah. And this one I can tell you, inshallah, is love. Okay, I told the answer, right? So I had radio on, right? The Shaykh began to speak. I was actually doing housework. I usually do housework when I hear the khutbah. So I was washing the dishes, right? So and hearing the khutbah on the radio. And the Shaykh began. And he began saying, let me just play the khutbah. It's so beautiful, the first part of the khutbah. I wonder if you all can hear it. I put it up on, where did I put it on? Okay, it's on my Telegram. Let me just see if you all can. I share sound, eh? Let's see. Okay, wait, let me just let me share a bit of the first part, okay? Sorry. I want to show you all because I want you all to feel love. Okay, I want you all to feel love. Let me just advance. Okay, I'm gonna share my computer audio. Okay, can someone can apa kan? Okay, so let me see if I disconnect my speaker. I share my audio. Wait, Kaira, disable the tamam. Okay, hold on, eh. Okay, I'm sharing my audio. Let me just play, okay, what he's saying.
ومن الحقوق المؤكدات حسن الرعاية.
Can you hear it? Sorry, can you hear the Arabic a little bit? I'll translate it as I go along. Can you hear it? And Muhimli, can you hear it? Okay, what is it? Okay, let me just continue sharing, okay?
البنين والبنات وحسن نظري في أحوالهم والملاحظة لهم وتربيتهم تربية مرضية عند الله عز وجل. ورسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم مع هذه الرعايات العجيبات كان يتخلق بالأخلاق الكريمات حتى مع البنين ومع
So here, Zairi feeling very emotional with this khutbah. So the Shaykh begins by, he begins the khutbah by saying the importance of looking after our children and looking after our small children. And he said, our Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's beautiful character, and his beautiful overlook, he's looking into everyone's affairs and everyone's states, even the youngest of them, even the smallest of them, even our youngest children, like he looks into their affairs. And already when I was hearing this, I was feeling an overwhelming feeling. I don't know if you all can hear this or you can feel this. I was feeling this overwhelming feeling inside of me. And I was feeling like you can feel the lump growing in your throat. Literally, I was washing the dishes and I was like tears are welling up in my eyes. And it's just, I'm not sad, but just so touched by this individual, the Prophet ﷺ, of how he cared so much for his ummah, of how he made every child feel important, of how he cared for their feelings so much. And if you can taste this, I'm trying to deliver this to you. If you can taste the movement in your heart, that stirring in your heart, that is love. Right? If you can, if you can tell me on the chat, right, can you feel something stir, in your heart, about this individual, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Right, let me just continue playing a bit more, okay? Because he says quite a bit of really awesome stuff, mashallah.
حتى مع الصغار وما في الصحابة ولا في المسلمين عموما صغير بل هم ذوي قدر كبير عند الكبير سبحانه تبارك وتعالى. ولولا مكانتهم عند الله ولولا قدرهم عند الله لما أعطاهم لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم.
Right, so the Shaykh says that, and how Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, with all these children, as young as they are, as small as they are, he never saw them to be insignificant. He never saw them to be small. But they are great. He saw them to be great human beings because Allah gave them La ilaha illallah. And you feel your heart shaking in this point. This is love. This is love. This, what you're tasting now, what you're feeling now for our Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and this admiration for him, this is love. This right here, right now. That is love. That is love. It has nothing to do, with your heartbeat, with you feeling, anxious and you feeling, whatever. And subhanAllah, I literally had to stop. I had to stop washing dishes and sit down. I could not continue with my housework because I think my emotions were just overwhelming me with how the Shaykh was speaking about Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Continue a bit more, okay?
أنس بن مالك رضي الله عنه وأرضاه يروي لنا بعض نماذج تربية النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم له وقد عاش في بيته يقول والله لقد خدمت.
Actually, he goes into a few stories here. And one of the stories was Sayyidina Anas bin Malik, right? And he says how Sayyidina Anas bin Malik would narrate certain stories from Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And one of the stories that Anas bin Malik, right, would narrate, right, was the story of how he served Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam for 10 years, and not once did Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that when he did something not that he was not supposed to do, the Rasul said to him, why did you do that? Or that he didn't do something he was supposed to do. And Rasul said, why didn't you do that? In that way. And there was once in Anas, in the same story, so Anas, he broke something. Everybody got upset with him because he broke it, like a child who broke something in the house. And he just very calmly said to the people, don't be upset with him, right? The pot had has own lifespan, and also all of you have your lifespans, right? So the pot's lifespan came to an end, right? It's okay. Mashallah, mashallah. And then I mean, and as he was going on and on and on and on about Rasulullah, like you just feel yourself, you literally feel your heart filling up. Right? Do you feel that? The more and more and more you hear about the beloved, right? This is true love. That you feel your heart, expanding. It's expanding, it's getting more and more to the point you feel you can't contain what's going on in your heart. That is love. That right there. That is love. That's what we're looking for. That's what we want. Whenever you hear Allah's name, the heart begins to tremble, the heart begins to fill up, the heart begins to yearn. You hear the Prophet's name, your heart begins to fill up. And really, subhanAllah, we are coming towards the month of the Prophet ﷺ, Rabiul Awwal, and really prepare your hearts, right? So inshallah, and stop sharing, move it to the book, right? But prepare your heart to face the month of love of the Prophet ﷺ. And as you go from Mawlid to Mawlid, you go from Majlis to Majlis, prepare your heart and don't distract your heart from the gifts of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that is raining down in this majalis. And the biggest way in which you prevent yourself from receiving the gifts from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is to be distracted in the majlis. Right? And distracted by what? By your phones, by scrolling, by texting, by messaging, by whatever. Whenever, subhanAllah, whenever I come to this and I open up my phone, look at my phone, straight away I feel my heart is blocked from the majlis. Like I cannot feel what is being said in the majlis. But when I washing plates, I was washing plates now, like my heart was with the khutbah, and I could hear, and I was involved. But I know if I was with my device, my heart's not with the khutbah, and my heart is somewhere else. My heart is blocked whenever I'm with a device. But when I'm doing housework, I'm hearing the shaykh. Which is why I like to just do housework whenever I put on all these things or go for a walk. Like just don't be the devices, because devices take away from you, right? Your focus. Devices take away from you your feeling, in fact, and it takes away from you any spiritual gifts from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And really, honestly, if you're going to a majlis, if you can agree with your entire family who's going to the majlis with you, everyone's devices to be kept in one bag and zip the bag. Right? All persons' devices, your children, yourself, everyone, take all devices, keep it in the bag, zip up the bag. No one's allowed to look at devices while you're at the majlis, because you are blocking yourself from Allah's mercy and Allah's love and Allah's blessings that is descending onto that majlis. You are basically being a cup that is overturned. You know how Aishun, she gave the example, if you all heard in the dawrah, how Aisha gave the example of the 3 cups. Your hearts are like 3 cups, right? One cup is faced upwards, but it's clean cup. So when Allah rains in that majlis, all of the barakah and all the noor and all of the light and all of the love from that majlis, you fill up your cup, and it's pure. And some people come to the majlis and they have dirty cups, they have diseases in their hearts, but the cup is also faced upwards. Right? And so the rain falls into this cup and it cleans out the cup. Right? It does not fill up with pure water, but it actually cleans out the cup. And the more they go for majlis, the more the cup gets cleaned out. And the third type of cup, which is basically a heart, is a heart that is overturned. A heart that is overturned, a cup that is overturned. So it's not even facing upwards, it's facing the other way. Right? And the bottom of the cup is upwards, right? So it's overturned. And that cup gets nothing from the majlis. It does not get cleaned out. It does not collect anything from the majlis. that is a cup of a device. And that is someone holding a device, right? Someone holding a phone, right? And then this advising myself first and foremost, because sometimes I check messages. Wala hawla wala quwwata illa billah, I should stop doing that. Right, so it's myself first and foremost, not to check messages when I'm on when I'm at a majlis, but to give my heart what it needs to take from the majlis. Right, so my advice to everybody is that if you can make it a rule that when you bring your friend, your family, your children, to a majlis, everybody's phone into one bag, not their bag, your bag. Okay, everybody's, and you yourself to be an example to everybody else. Right, keep your phone in your bag. Right, zip it up. Right, if you know when your husband's coming to fetch you or whatsoever, then only then you take out your phone to check your messages and nothing else, to see if your husband has texted to go home or something. But besides that, there should be no reason why you should be checking your messages at all. Even if I'm in school and everything, and I'm doing my degree, I would not open up my phone at all, because I know the moment I open my phone, I'm no longer in class. My mind goes to the phone. I think all of us know that. It's the fact of the matter. Subhanallah. Okay, alhamdulillah. Naam. Okay, so everything that describes, so I'm actually really disagreeing with him a lot on this first few statements, and I really apologize to Sheikh. I don't disagree. I don't agree to the first few statements, right? But Allahu Alam, and everyone has their own opinion. So everything that describes true love is found in it. It's actually not found in it. Right? It's not. You don't actually find it. You don't actually find it in infatuation and in passion love. You don't actually find it there. You find a lot of things fleeting. The thing about true love is that it's real. It's a real thing. Yani, and it's around goodness, right? It centers around goodness, around good character, around good behavior, around benefit, right? The thing about infatuation and passion is that it's fleeting. It's fleeting, it goes away. Tamam. Right? So, but to get it, sin must be committed, that's called ishq. Right? Ishq, right? It's a form of desire. Is desire. Okay, a man or woman compromises their relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to achieve something that he created, and that he can give it to them without such a sacrifice. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give love in the right way to the right person at the right time. And we ask Allah as a dua, Allahumma inni as'aluka hubbak wa hubba man yuhibbuk wa hubba al-amala yuqarribuni ila hubbik. Right? Allahumma inni as'aluka hubbak. Oh Allah, indeed I ask you for your love. Wa hubba man yuhibbuk. And the love of those who love you. So you want a pure love. وَحُبَّ عَمَلَ صَالِحَ يُقَرِّبُنِي إِلَى حُبِّكَ. And a love for righteous actions that brings me closer to your love. So dua that you should be making after every prayer, whenever du'as are accepted, after class, at all times, like this dua over and over again. And inshallah, you will have the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? And another dua of Imam al-Haddad, it's a popular dua. You can find the khulasa whereby Imam al-Haddad said, اللهم أخرج من قلبي كل قدر من الدنيا وكل محل الخلق يميل بي إلى معصيتك أو يشغلني عن طاعتك أو يحل بيني وبين معرفتك الخاصة ومحبتك الخالصة. Which means that, oh Allah, remove from my heart. So the heart is a place of love, right? It's a place of love. Remove from my heart any matter of the dunya, of this world, or any worth of this world. Qadr means worth. Any worth or matter of this world, or any place of the creation, it means of people in my heart. Remove from me all of these things, and exactly what? Remove from me of the dunya and of people from my heart what brings me to disobey you, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and what distracts me from obedience of you, Ya Allah, and what comes between me and knowing you purely, and me, knowing you sincerely, purely, and me and loving you sincerely, subhanahu wa ta'ala. So dua from al-Haddad, Allahumma akhrij min qalbi kulli khayri dunya kulli mahal al-khalq yamilu bi ila ma'siyatik aw yushghiluni an ta'atik aw yahillu bayni bayna ma'rifatik al-khassa wa mahabbatik al-khalisa. Okay, there's a dua of Imam al-Haddad. Read this dua over and over again, and Allah will teach you what is true love. And I hope that as we go along in these lessons, we're not done in the lessons, where are we? Okay. I'm here on the speech 21. Now, right. Now, subhanAllah, the more you make this dua, the more you go to these lessons, the more I hope, inshallah, we will understand what is true love. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala teach us what is true love. Tamam. Right. So in a sense, right, so when wait there, tamam. Right, now, so in that sense, ishq is a word text message, that secret meeting, that promise, or that look that one would hate for any human being, let alone his or her family, to know what they were doing. This is not the kind of love praised by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and is sinful, and in fact it is not love at all. I would not call this love at all, but I guess he's quoting all of these things because people call it love. It's not love. Okay, it's not love, right? It's just obsession, infatuation, passion, lust, right? But it is anything except love. It is not love, right? So such that the example of that kind of so-called love, which is not love, like offered to Nabi Yusuf alayhi salam, right? The wife of his master attempted, right, to entice him, to seduce him, like any seductress would approach a man in such a circumstance. Right? And he refused, saying, I seek refuge in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I seek Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala a protection from this, right? Because his heart had an inkling towards it. Okay, that one is also to be deferred, right? With because the prophets are ma'asum. Okay, prophets are ma'asum. Prophets are infallible. Right? They're infallible, they do not commit any sin, right? So for a prophet to have an inkling towards a married woman, that is mustahil. That is not possible. Okay, prophets do not have an attraction or an inkling towards married women. Right? It's not possible. Okay, so Nabi Yusuf, so that there are things in regards to Nabi Yusuf and Zulaikha's story that we must correct. Okay, and especially from the Quran itself, there's a verse that could be misunderstood by people as to what it meant. Okay, as to what it means. Because there's a verse in the Quran, right, in Surah Yusuf. So I hope that inshallah, if you can listen to my tafsir of Surah Yusuf, right, whereby it is clarified what that verse means. Because remember, Nabi Yusuf is a Nabi. Okay, Nabi. And in our Aqidah, we cannot ascribe any form of sin, right, or deficiency towards, that is sinful, right, towards the Nabi. Right? So to have an inkling or even an attraction or even anything for the wife of a man, it means for a married woman, that is haram. That is haram. Right? So we don't say Nabi Yusuf has an inkling. I'm referring so much if you might feel so bad. Right? But I disagree. I disagree with this. Okay, there is no inkling, right, of Nabi Yusuf alayhi salam towards Zulaikha. Right? But what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala spoke about in the Quran, right? لَقَدْ هَمَّتْ بِهِ وَهَمَّ بِهَا لَوْلَا بُرْهَانَ رَبِّهِ. Right? Whereby Allah says in the Quran, لَقَدْ هَمَّتْ بِهِ. Right? Indeed, right? She هَمَّتْ بِهِ, and she's been thinking about him. Right? So Allah says that she, Zulaikha, has been thinking so much about Nabi Yusuf alayhi salam. And then Allah says, and he would have been thinking about her. Does not mean he has been. It just means he would have been thinking about her if he had not seen the proofs of his Lord. Meaning, the Nabi Yusuf has been completely occupied by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that he completely did not see anybody else except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Where's in the verse? So did Nabi Yusuf see Zulaikha? No. Did Nabi Yusuf think of Zulaikha? No. Did Nabi Yusuf have any form of attraction to Zulaikha? No. He was completely oblivious to Zulaikha because he was occupied with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is what the verse is speaking about, right? And in fact, where did I just hear this? can't remember where I heard this. But in fact, there is a story of Majnun and Layla. And Layla and Majnun is a story in the Arabic world, right? And it's a story that's used a lot in Sufism, right? To describe love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in a way. So Majnun has a dog, right? And this dog literally, guides him to the house of Layla because he's so intoxicated in love for Layla that he actually has a dog that could bring him to the house of Layla, because he's so drunk on love that he needs a dog to bring him around. So there was once Majnun was walking with his dog, right, holding on to a rope or something. The dog is leading him right to the house of Layla. And there were a group of people who were standing there, at a particular place, in a masjid or something, and they were praying, and Majnun walked past them. Right? He walked past them from a way whereby they could see him, right? So he walked past them with his dog. So when they finished praying, Majnun was walking back towards his home, and they said to Majnun, "Oh Majnun, where are you going with the dog?" Right? Why do you go past us with the dog and are going past again? And then Majnun said, "Who are you guys?" And they said, "We saw you, going past with the dog. Where are you going?" And then Majnun was like, "When do you see me going past with this dog?" And then the people said, "Oh, we were praying. While we were praying, we saw you going past with the dog." And then Majnun says to them, "Strange. You all laugh at me for my love for Layla. Yet when I love her, I don't see anyone except her. And while you are praying to Allah whom you claim to love, you see everyone except Allah." Subhanallah. So all stories of the Sufism. There's deeper meaning in this, if you understand it. So that Majnun, as he walked past the people back and forth, he did not see any of them. In a sense, he's just focused on his beloved. He's just focused on his beloved, full stop. In this case, Layla, but it's a sophisticated story to show a deeper meaning. So, and these people were praying, and they were watching Majnun the entire time. Right? And so he said that, me and my beloved, I don't see anyone else. You and your claimed beloved, you see everyone else. You're not loving Allah in the way he should be loved. So the story of Nabi Yusuf alayhi salam, Zulaykha was obsessed with him. Allah says he would have been thinking of her if he was not thinking about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which tells us a solution, right? If you are distracted by an individual, by a human being, obsessed with a human being, you're not seeing Allah anymore. In a sense, Allah's not present in your life anymore. It's a solution, it's a solution. When someone is hopelessly infatuated, having a crush, or obsessed with an individual who is not representing love for the person, right? It's not giving back that love for that person. Then, and this person is being heartbroken by this. The solution is to direct them to Allah. Direct them to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, right, so it's not that he had an inkling towards her, he didn't have an inkling towards her, right? But so his wife, so basically where is it? Right, so how could he not be enticed by the offer? He's a prophet. Of course he's not enticed. Of course, he's a prophet. He's not even interested. He's focused on one person. He's focused on one being, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's focused on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. She sought him and he could have accepted her, but had his Lord, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not saved him with clear evidence of his sinfulness, immorality. He's probably taking a different tafsir here, and I'm going for a different tafsir. That's what I'm going is from Habib Umar, which is clearer to me, that preserves the isma of prophets. It preserves the infallibility of prophets, right? So it is not that he had any desire for her, right? But it was that, Allah explained to us that Nabi Yusuf had no desire for Zulaykha because he was occupied with his Lord, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? So he would have felt comfortable in fulfilling. What's the next page? Huh. Right. In fulfilling, let's see next page. Tamam. Such a desire, but he was a sincere servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah made him firm. When one is truthful and sincere, Allah helps him in times when he cannot help himself. Right. So we reject the notion that Nabi Yusuf was actually attracted. Okay, we reject that because Zulaikha is a married woman. Right. So it's mustahil. It's impossible that Nabi Yusuf was actually interested in a married woman. Because it would be haram. Tamam. And prophets don't fall there. Okay. So we're gonna stop here, page 22. Inshallah, we're gonna open up Maqasid. So this class is actually 2 books in this class. We have the first book on the love, right? And then we have this one. Right, we have Maqasid. So we share Maqasid. Okay, Alhamdulillah. Allahumma salli wa sallim alayhi wa ala alihi. Thank you. Okay, Bismillah. Okay. So we are where? 1.3, eh? Okay. So we believe in everything that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has informed us upon the tongue of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, such as angels, right? The 10 angels, the angels have no number to them, right? But 10 by name you must know about them, right? The sacred scriptures, the questioning of the dead in their graves about their faith, the resurrection of the dead, right? They're being gathered onto the day of judgment, right? The terror of it and the taking of the pages in which one's good and bad deeds are recorded, the weighing of them, the balance scales, the high narrow bridge of Sirat over the hellfire, where that was that the saved will pass over to paradise. And the session of the prophets and righteous for others, and in paradise and the hellfire. So all of these that he's speaking about, Imam Nawawi, rahimahullah ta'ala, is about the sama'iyat. And you call these the sama'iyat, right? Things that we hear, right? We hear about these things, right? But we can never experience them. So we believe in everything that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has informed us about upon the tongue of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? And so, for example, angels, right? So the angels that they exist, right? The books, okay, the Quran, the Torah, the Injil, the Zabur, and there are way more books than these books. These are the 4 that are mentioned in the Quran, but there are way more. Right? The different prophets have been given different books and also scriptures. Right, the questioning of the dead. Right, so we know in the grave that once we enter the grave, the first thing that will happen is Munkar and Nakir, right, will come, right, to the human being. It is mentioned that it could be, they are also called Bashir and Mubashir. Right, so Bashir and Mubashir, right, basically the 2 angels that come to believers. And he said that for these believers, they are Munkar and Nakir. For believers, they are called Bashir and Mubashir. Now they come to the believers and they ask 6 questions. Who is your Lord? What is your religion? Who is your prophet? Where is your Qibla? What is your Imam? And who are your brethren? And of course the answer is Allahu Rabbi, Allah is my Lord. Muhammad Nabi Muhammad is my prophet. Islam Dini, Islam is my religion. Qur'ani Imami, the Quran is my leader. Ka'batu Qiblati, the Kaaba is a Qibla, and Muslimin or Mu'minin, Ikhwani, the believers, they are my brethren. They're the 6 questions, but of course you can only answer these questions if you have lived the answers. Right? So it's not something to be memorized, but something to be lived, and then you can answer the questions in that way. Inshallah. And I go through this in a lot of detail actually in the Aqidah class. So I do an Aqidah class every Thursday morning, right? So it's all recorded also on my YouTube, so you can check it there. So I'm not gonna go do it in depth here, but you can check it there. If you want to go through these 6 questions and how do we live these 6 questions carefully and thoroughly, in our lives, so that we can answer them to the angels on the day of judgment. I say, oh, I mean, our graves, our graves. And it's simple for those who are disbelieving and sinful, right? When the angels will say, "Who is your Lord?" And they'll bellow it, they'll shout it out, "Who is your Lord?" Right? And the person will panic and he'll be in such fear that he'll begin to say, you too are my Lord, you too are my Lord. Right? And the angels will strike this individual, and he will fall 70 levels into the heaven, into the hell, into the earth, right? The earth. Subhanallah. Right. So and then they will show a picture of Rasulullah and say, what do you say about this man? Rasulullah, and the person will say, I say what the people said. I say what the people said. They say he's crazy. They say he's a magician. They say he's a liar. Right? And the angels will strike him right deep into the earth again. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to recognize our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in our graves. And inshallah, for every believer, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam will see them. I will meet them at the point of the death. Inshallah, inshallah, inshallah. We have billahi ta'ala that you get to see our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam at the point of death, where he eases for you. He makes it easy for you, right? To make a transition from this world to the next world, inshallah. And it's a beautiful way to die, right? If you see someone, when you're very nervous, very scared about something, that you're going to a new place, a new area, a new country, you're going somewhere that is brand new, and you see a familiar face. Now, that feeling, and you see a familiar face, you see someone that you actually know, and you find solace, you find uns, you find comfort in that individual because that individual is familiar to you, right? So I can imagine like that. When we have to leave this world eventually and go to the next world, you want to look for a face that will comfort you, right? In a situation where you're so scared, and you're so scared to make transition from this world to the next world at the point of death. How comforting would it be if you could just see his blessed face, just see his blessed face and his blessed smile and the light that shines from his face, and him saying, "Don't worry," him saying, "Calm down," him saying, "It's going to be okay," and him assuring you it's going to be okay. And even better if he says to you, "You've done well. You've done well. Don't worry about this. Okay, it's just a transition. It is going to go through. Okay, you're going to leave this world and go to the next world. It's going to get better." MashaAllah. I can only imagine that, and how beautiful death would be, right? How beautiful death would be if that's going to be our death. Look at us then. I mean, I have full hope in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He's going to give that to us, inshallah. I have full hope, full husnuzan that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that He will give us the Prophet of Islam's hand for us to hold, to assure us it's going to be okay. And as we go to the next one, inshallah, that's why it is, right? In preparation for the day. Allahumma salli wa sallim wa alayhi wa ala alihi. It's still Friday here in Sydney, so I'm still on Friday. So I'm going to do my starts. You all are already studying in the Singapore. So the questioning in the graves about their faith, the resurrection of the dead on the day of resurrection, they're being gathered onto the judgment day, them being gathered on the day of judgment. So we believe in all of these things. The trumpet will be blown twice, blown to destroy the entire earth, and all in it, the entire universe, and then blown again, right, to resurrect, right, for all to come back to life. Terror of it, the taking of the pages in which one's good and bad deeds are recorded, right? And weighing of them. So the scriptures, your good deeds and bad deeds are distributed. So it's either in your left hand or in your right hand, right? You will receive the weighing of your deeds, right? On the scales, right? The scales of good deeds, scales of bad deeds. The high narrow bridge is Sirat. So the Sirat has an incline, a flat part, and a decline. Okay, an incline, a flat part, and a decline. And it said that it takes 70,000 years for the incline, 7,000 years for the flat part, and 7,000 years for the decline. And it's as thin as a hair, it's a shovel and a blade. It's going to be pitch black, right, pitch dark, right, at the rod. You can hear the howling of the winds of hellfire beneath it, right? The flames of the fire come up like hooks, and like hooks, and it will hook people off of this bridge. Wala hawla wala quwwata illa billah. Right, so subhanallah, or some describe it, some people will go across the bridge like lightning, some will go across the bridge in the blink of an eye, right? Some will run across the bridge, some will jog, some will crawl across the bridge, or some say he's there by the bridge saying, Ya Rab Salim Salim, Ya Rab Salim Salim. Oh my Lord, safety, safety, oh my Lord, safety, safety. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. He will be going around the different stations throughout the day of judgment. He's where the books are being distributed. He is where the scales, the deeds are being weighed. He is where the bridge is. Right? So whenever you need any help, cry out to him, Ya Rasulullah, I am one of your ummah. Ya Rasulullah, I am one of your ummah. Right? Please ask Allah to forgive me. Ask Allah to save me. Ask Allah. And he will intercede, he will intercede, he will intercede. And that is where, as Habib Umar will say, the day of judgment, the day of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It is where it will manifest how Allah has preferred our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam over all of creation. And you will see the greatness of him sallallahu alaihi wasallam as Allah's greatest creation. Subhanahu wa ta'ala. Subhanahu. Alhamdulillah. Right. So there will be the fire, right, that the saved will pass over to paradise. The intercession of the prophets and righteous for others in paradise and in the hellfire. So inshallah, we will stop there for today, inshallah. So that we are at 1.4, okay? Inshallah, 1.4. Now, any questions? Okay, no questions. We'll stop me for today. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم والحمد لله رب العالمين. الفاتحة. يرزقنا علما نافعا وعملا خالصا نستعين بالهدى ويصل به قبل بمحمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وأرواح معالمينا ومشايخنا وأزال الحقوق علينا وإلى حضرة النبي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.